some of the most celebrated talent in this country have female managers. Think about it. Shah Rukh Khan, Diljit, Bacha used to, King does.
Top 3 successful moments where you felt, oh my God, like I've killed it, I've nailed it.
I think the first one's definitely got to be having the privilege of served the iconic Lata Mangeshkar. My one big learning was older men in the profession just don't feel comfortable working with another woman. And God forbid that she's younger than them, it's a whole different story. Till date, not a single record label in India has had a female CEO or managing director. And I think that speaks volumes about where we are culturally. What's urgent is not important, what's important is never urgent. I mean, these are deals that could be career impacting deals, which you want to close like at lightning speed, but why? I remember I would do a play where I forget now, but I think I was like getting paid $1,500 a show. And for me, I was like, oh my goodness, like 1,500 rupees. But I could see the disappointment on my mother's face saying, what is this kid on?
Hi, I'm Preeti Rathi Gupta and I'm on the Rich Recipes podcast today. I have someone who's an absolute powerhouse, Priyanka Khimani. She's one of India's top entertainment lawyers, the kind who knows how to balance contracts and creativity like it's second nature. She's not just breaking stereotypes in her field, but is also a huge advocate for women owning their power. Welcome to the show, Priyanka. Rich Recipes essentially means being able to follow the conventional or the non-conventional, something that your heart wants to do. And today, having Priyanka Khimani sit in front of me, I'm just amazed. I don't have words. Priyanka, from theatre to biotech to producing shows, to really becoming, getting into the legal field. And today you are the most celebrated IP lawyer. And particularly in the entire music industry, there's one name that people will hear of, know of, is yours.
Thank you.
How? One, what made you do all of this and choose at every stage of life that this is what, you're passionate about or you want to do? And like I said, let's connect it to, that's the true richness in life.
Yeah, I think madness, just sheer madness and guts at every single point. But no, I think just, it's a lot of, I've said this before in a lot of my talks and interactions with people. I think a lot of where I am has just been a factor of the circumstances that I came from or was faced with at that point of time. I think that prods you to take certain decisions or be mindful of certain things. And I think it's a lot of years of getting things wrong, failing. I think in the age of social media, we've kind of forgotten all of that, right? We're all about the reward. Everyone wants to see the optics. Everyone wants to see the, you have to be visible and, oh, but this person's got this and this title and this, what are you wearing? Where are you living? All of that. But I think no one really looks at what happens behind the scenes. It's a lot of blood, sweat and tears constantly. But I think the one thing, and we were chatting about this earlier, right, is just about at some point being bold and making bold decisions, because you got to serve you. If you can't serve you, nothing's going to work for you.
Right. Yeah. Like we said, there's no God out there who will say, okay, come on, I'll help you out. Yes, we all believe hopefully in a higher being, but at the end of the day, you've got to rise to the occasion for yourself. And I think I love the way you say that in today's world, we only talk about our success or how we've got everything right, whether it's our Instagram post or whether it's anything that we post, it's like how we've managed it to the hilt, right? But that's not the reality. The failures that we've faced while getting to whatever success is what I don't think we talk enough about.
I don't think we talk about it at all. And when I'm saying failures also, I'm not necessarily saying it in the color of hardships or look how tough my life was and all of that. It's not that, right? Yeah. There's a lot of day-to-day failures. There's a lot of annual failures. There's a lot of project or that particular phase in your life related failures. And I just feel till you don't go through it, till you've not seen it, you're not going to come out on the other side. And the other part is, I don't think we talk about it enough. I fail to understand why. I just feel that every single time I've opened up and talked about something, at least 5 other people go, oh my goodness, really? This happened. And it just opens up the conversation so much, and people realize that, oh, wait a minute, it's not just me who's struggling with it. Even she faced the same problems, right? So I do feel like there's some joy in celebrating all of the things that didn't work out, all of the failures, and it's cool.
Yeah. And do you think we're as women, are we candid? By the way, I think maybe men are not also, even more so, I would say. But I think we shy away from really being candid about, it could be everyday failures, it could be the big failures, it could be the obstacles, it could be the hardships, without realizing that there's so much that we can learn from each other, right? From, what each one of us has gone through. There's so much learning in sharing that.
We don't do it. And I don't know if it's more cultural. I'm saying this also because I spend a lot of time outside of this country as well, and kind of divide my time between being here and being outside. I definitely think socio-culturally, you're absolutely right. We still shy away from both, from celebrating our successes as well as talking about our failures. Celebrating successes, I think my mom's the perfect example, right? I feel till date, she's like so, will want to always underplay anything that's happening in her life. नहीं, don't, किसी को ये नहीं बताना है, वो नहीं बताना है. Even when it comes to me, right, I can always see that there is a certain reticence in how she'll own my success. I don't understand it, but maybe she has her reasons for it. And I see that across the board with women not wanting to own their success, not wanting to celebrate it. When it comes to the failure, certainly. And what's most heartbreaking for me is I still understand women, a certain generation before me, right? Whether that's our moms, our grandparents, and our aunts doing it. It was still a slightly different time, but I still see it happening current day with women my age or younger than me, who become young moms, or the struggles of being a young mother, and or trying to fit into, the school, and now you got to suddenly make friends. I'm 30 plus something years old. I'm not necessarily wanting to make new friends, but I've been stuck in this situation, right? I just feel like I fail to understand why is our generation not talking about it enough and openly. And like I said, once you do, you'll be amazed how many people just tell you that, oh my goodness, I'm dealing with the same thing. I wish we can somehow take away the shame or that stigma from talking about things that are not working out for you, or if you're unhappy with something in your life, you want to reach out, you want to seek help. Maybe it'll change over a period of time. It's just more cultural, social, in my view.
No, I'm sure it will. I think that's the reason. I think this podcast exists is to make conversations that are difficult, including money conversations, just very matter of fact. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, something that you have to think about so much. Since we said that we don't talk enough about our success and our failures, top 3 successful moments where you felt, oh my God, like I've killed it, I've nailed it.
I think the first one's definitely got to be having the privilege of served the iconic Lata Mangeshkar.
Wow.
I don't think I can say it enough times. It is one of my life's biggest privileges to be able to have served her during her lifetime, and to today continue being able to advise the Mangeshkar estate and the family on the legacy, helping preserve it, do justice to it, and all facets of what she built during her career. So I feel for me that is really number one by far.
Iconic. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
like, Lata Mangeshkar is, I've met her once and I've just been like, I was speechless, right? Yeah. I was like, oh my God, she's the goddess of music.
And she's by far one of the coolest women I've dealt with. Number 2, I think, would be Sushmita Sen, who I work with very, very closely, especially since the second innings that she's had in her career, with her comeback on the OTT world with Arya and then Tali. And I just think everything that she stands on, just to be able to be a part of her ecosystem, advice, the friendship and the partnership that we've shared, that is one of my most cherished moments. And I think number 3 is Women of Music India, the foundation that I set up. It's a little surprising that it took someone in that sense that's an outsider to set up something for the music industry. But I feel it's always that one person that needs to take that initiative and everyone follows. And the overwhelming response that I've had from the stakeholders in the business, the artists of Indian origin here across the world has been so warm and so soul nourishing. So I think these are definitely my top three.
Wow, I think women of music we'll talk about a little bit more, but I would have said you're so lucky that you've worked with, Lata Mangeshkar ji, or you've worked with Sushmita Sen, but I really want to say you deserve it, because I think that's what we need to, that's what we need to see, because it doesn't come easy. And of course, there is gratitude in being able to work with such iconic personalities, and particularly strong women who've lived life at their terms, the way they wanted to. Yeah. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
What a fabulous, fabulous line. And I think that's where that's where I think women, we find it hard to take the first step towards anything, because we're already in our head thinking of the possible outcomes. We speak to a lot of women for Lakshmi in our community. And I think before even starting to take control of their money, they're already thinking, what if it goes wrong? What will happen if, this happens? And I think it's very important to sort of understand that it's more important to take that step. You can't control the outcome, but you can work towards the best outcome. That's what's in your hands, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely right. And I think, just one more question on this. There's a big crisis on the doorstep. What are your 1, 2, 3, this is how mental framework of this is how we'll deal with it. And I'm asking you this because also
my job is
this is your job, yes.
All the time.
Yeah.
In fact, just last evening I was talking to somebody who called again and in a crisis and said that, are you also a therapist? Like, how are you so calm? But I think that's my first thing. I don't have knee-jerk reactions. And I feel people underestimate generally when faced with a situation how important that is. We've become so used to living in this instant world where I must have a fix, I must find a solution. Isko call karo, usko call lagao, and how can, like, everything has to be quick. But I'm like, but why? Just take a minute, like let's unpack the whole thing, assess where we are. So I feel that's number one, is to not have a knee-jerk reaction and think with a cool head. Number two is to assess that, does it need a reaction or does it need a response? They're two very different things.
Fab.
Right? If you're in a public crisis, you could react to it, and chances are that reaction will always be impulsive, emotional, short-sighted, silly, something you look back in the future and regret. Yeah. Or you could respond to it, which means that you assess what is being said. What can I do? Do I need to respond? Or can I just let this pass? Because how much can we respond to? We're living in a day and age of social media and internet where anything and everything is capable of becoming a talking point if you let it become a talking point. That is within your control, right? So I feel that's number two. And number three is to really get to be very articulate about what you want. So just be very clear about what the goalpost is. And I think that's very important in a crisis, because the goalpost keeps changing constantly, right? Your client is in a certain situation and they're like, oh my God, ye karna hai, abhi ye karna hai, acha abhi ye tweet dal dete, but let me clarify this, let me do this, let me immediately sell this off. And you're just thinking that, okay, fine, fix the top 3 things that we need to achieve and let's work towards that. So I feel you have to be captain of the ship and take charge of a situation, because in those moments, that person is relying on your instinct for their lives and careers. So I don't take what I do lightly at all, because I'm very, very mindful that my advice or counsel is ultimately life or death in a whole different sense to the people that I'm advising, whether it's a corporate, whether it's artist or talent that's front-facing. Their lives, reputation, careers, brand depend on it. So right. Your instinct is kicking in on their behalf.
Right. Fab. I think you'd make for a great money manager, by the way.
Thank you.
So I think these mantras actually stand true for maybe if it's a celebrity, it's a woman dealing or a person dealing with, even relationships at home or at workplace. I was just thinking in my head while you were saying this that even at our workplaces, a lot of the times, especially this reaction and response, that is so, I loved it. Thank you for sharing it. I think I've made pointers and I'm going to like keep it ready for even all my team and, even the husband at home, like, hello, that's how you deal with it. But I think it is so important to really, look at any situation and invariably in life, these will happen. You will come, it will happen to you. For us, it happens every other day when markets fall, markets rise. And there's like this quick, oh my God, should I sell? Should I sell? Like we have women asking us, should I sell? What should I do? And I think this is exactly the 3 pointers which is why I said you'll make for a great money manager. This is what we tell them. You've been at the crossroads of creativity and commerce. On either side, what works, what doesn't? And where do you feel that, I've had an opportunity in life where creativity and commerce have intersected and I've found a beautiful place, right?
You were a producer.
So I'd love for you to share, where, like, what is it on either side? One, people get wrong. Today, there's so much talent in our country, whether it's, singing, whether it's art, whether it's scripts, anything, right? There's so much talent and acting, of course. And yet it's not easy to sort of make it. So on that side, and of course on commerce, then finally setting up your practice, running it. What is it? Some things that come to your mind that could help, people listening in that you could get wrong.
Well, on the creative side, and it's something that I deal with for a living day in and day out, right? Across the board, all sorts of creators, whether it's film, TV, music, social media, advertising, at different stages of their careers, right? From someone who's starting out or from someone who is probably second or third generation in their family, to somebody who's seen a reasonable amount of success and is now going to jump to the next big phase of their careers. I feel that the one thing that everyone often gets wrong is underestimating the value of good counsel and good advice. And I say this specifically for entertainment.
Right.
Where, again, I say it too often, I think, but it's become an ecosystem that is so fast moving. Everything is acha, sasta, jaldi, right? Everything is knee jerk. Everything's required as of yesterday. No one's stopping and thinking that, okay, but what is the urgency? It's the classic, right? What's urgent is not important. What's important is never urgent. I mean, these are deals that could be career impacting deals, which you want to close like at lightning speed. But why? Why should you not have to take enough time? But I feel from experience and all of the things that have gone wrong and have resulted in either a breach or in people ending up in court, or people just simply parting ways and ending things on such a bitter note. If I have to go back and deconstruct where the problem began, it was because you did not emphasize enough on seeking the right counsel or documenting paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I fail to understand why in this day and age, and given that we're one of the biggest entertainment industries in the world, why are we still offended when people get representation on a deal? Till date, the biggest of talent you will see will probably do a handshake deal with a studio or a producer. Yeah, most
Really?
of them up all the time. If I am brought into a room, it's like, but why did you have to go to her? अरे अब ये तो मतलब बहुत time लग जाएगा, अब तो बहुत complicate हो जाएगा, ये वो हम बात कर लेते हैं, etc. And look, I'm all for principles, talk, align yourselves to each other's interests, etc., etc. But what is the harm in papering what you've discussed orally? Like, why are you shy if both parties are what we call addendum? You've understood the same thing in the same sense, then why shy away from putting it down on paper, right? So I just feel every single time that I've seen that it's because there's very poor advice. The other thing that again is very, very typical of, I think, entertainment is you don't have qualified people playing the role of advisors. Very often, it's a spouse, a parent, a best friend that has just stepped into the role of being in charge of your life and career. Right, so even that person's learning on the job, and there's no harm with that. It's across history in different parts of the world. We've seen that that's been the equation, but even that person then must have the humility to say that, look, I may be close to this person and I'm there to make their life simpler, but I am not fully equipped. Let me get the best people and form a team, formulate and fortify ourselves, right? I think the people who are able to do that are really the people who are successful at the end of the day in show business. There's a lot of talent out there. Not everyone that's talented is successful, but the ones who are the ones who understand the value of having a good team around them, of investing your time, money, resources, not second guessing it. I'll always see people, lose business. And it happens more now than ever, where they're like, oh, but it's too expensive, so humne isse kara liya. And I've just resisted, like, it's cool. Because I know it's going to come back someday in litigation. It's going to come back someday when you guys have had a falling out. And what will be the root cause? That poor documentation that you chose to cheap out on.
Correct. No, I think, have seen many people learn the lesson the hard way. I think what's great about the financial world, which I belong to, is that documentation is key, right? Nothing moves till it's documented, till the paperwork's. And I've seen, especially documenting in agreements really help you also understand worst case scenarios. As the human race, particularly Indians, we are super optimistic. We feel everything will pan out just right. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not life. That's true, by the way, for a lot of documentation that happens, even between, whether it is, I've seen friends go through horrible separations, a lot of things, custody battles.
They're bitter.
And not that you can document it before, but when you are going through it, I think the 3 steps you said, firstly pay attention, and then really getting counsel and really documenting it, really, pointing out what is it that matters to you, how should this happen. I've really had friends who've said, it doesn't matter now, you just want to go a separate ways.
It doesn't
I mean, like,
matter.
how? It will matter at some point.
Right? And it's not even about documenting everything, but just get advice. Yeah. When we're unwell, you go to a doctor, you get advice, right? If you want to lose weight, you'll consult somebody and get guidance. Why do we shy away from doing that in matters that are of legal and commercial interest? It's going to affect your career, your livelihood. Just get advice and pay for advice. That's a whole other story.
And I've seen agreements actually really well done. Make relationships, commercial, professional, far better, because you've already there's clarity on everything. So you don't need to be second guessing, or, it's all out there.
But we're also a country that hates boundaries.
Well,
and it translates in all aspects of our dealings.
Yeah, it does. That's true. But I think this is where I think it's important to bring this back into people's memory and say this is something that you need to pay attention to. Yeah. So, fabulous. Great. So, I'll come back to a topic that I really love. Someone who's deeply involved in intellectual property, and IP has essentially been, we've done this journey, right? From like, guess who owns the IP, the person who funds it owns the IP, versus really the gray area, to now where it is. I think the law around IP, the litigation, or even lawyers, even 15 years back, it's not even like a concept, like people wouldn't even think about it, people who are making the music, for example, or content, or all of it, right? It was just, like you said, basic understanding between people. And now these are really high stake deals, right? Because of the stakeholders involved. Has that helped evolve your understanding of finance?
Completely. I think it's almost impossible for me to advise a client without looking at the commercial financial aspect of anything. I feel a lot of entertainment and a lot of entertainment law is you wearing a commercial legal hat. In fact, we usually in entertainment, in most businesses, there's a division called business affairs. which is largely a mix of commercial executives and lawyers. There's a reason for it, because the nature of entertainment is such that the two are intertwined. So if you don't understand the commerce of it, you don't understand elements of cash flow, you don't understand how much you're spending versus what is it that you're likely to recoup, what is the risk attached, at what rate will you recoup, how long will it take to recover that investment, you're not going to be able to cut yourself a savvy deal. Equally, when you end up in a situation of dispute or breach, it all comes down to you understanding the commerce of it all. And I feel IP, a lot of intellectual property also ultimately, but what does ownership translate into? What it literally is, what is your financial commercial interest in this piece of work that's being created? So in my world, it's impossible for me to isolate the two, and I feel that's also been a big part of our success at the firm, is that we've always taken that commercial legal approach to deal making or to problem solving in a dispute situation.
Fab. And how did you do this journey? Again, you come from, if I look at the background, it's creative, it's science, legal, but you've never studied commerce or finance.
But I was creative and I learned my lessons the hard way. So I've been on that side of the table.
So how did you navigate? See, one of the problems that women face typically is just the word finance is like this, red flag. Oh my God, I don't want to go there, right? It's going to be difficult. Yeah. I talk to a lot of women who say, but I'm an artist and I don't understand these numbers, or I'm very creative and it's not something that I want to sort of deal with, or I'm not a math whiz, so I can't deal with numbers or finance. But eventually, at some point in life, you have to navigate it.
You have to.
And you can either make it a pleasure or a pain. But having said that, I think all of us have navigated it in different ways. How did you do it? And, at what times you felt, oh my God, this is...
I'm going to give you probably a very long-winded answer to your question.
We have the time.
But I think it's important because I don't know, I've not met too many women who have had to, whose relationship is in finance or whose relationship with finance is the way I have it, right? I grew up with very little means. This is even when my parents were around, right? I mean, my mom's still around, but I lost my father very early on. But this is even when my dad was still around. Everything was hand to mouth. Every day was hand to mouth. My parents had the worst fights about money. I grew up in a chawl, right? We were 3 girls and my mom and dad. And money was, I don't want to say struggle, but money had just become the root cause of all the discontentment and dissatisfaction and fights. So you sort of grew up kind of almost saying that, oh my goodness, like this is a thing that has caused so much heartache and such a rift in relationships, right? So in that sense, I feel for many, many years of my life, I had a very detached approach to money.
Or even a negative one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's necessarily negative, but I just felt like, theek hai. And I also, look, it has plus and minuses. The plus point was that I also learned to hustle. I also learned to make do without it. I also learned to figure out, what do you need to be able to try and earn it, or even if you don't have enough of it, what are the ways and means to get around it, right? So it sort of teaches you a lot of life instinct.
Correct.
Right. I think a lot of my networking skills, a lot of my skills around people, a lot of my skills around being so quick and agile when it comes to adapting comes from that. But I think once my dad passed away, things became even worse, right? I suddenly ended up playing the role of father, husband, son. So which is very different compared to a lot of women, especially in the Indian society, who always want to leave financial matters to the male members and the senior male members of the family. I was that male member for my family, right from when I was 15, with actually no wealth to manage, but only debt that you had inherited that you got to sort of now deal with, right? Navigate and support this household of women, of which nobody is employed, and it's just you sort of thrown into the deep end. And I think my mom did a lot, and it's again quite classic, right? How Indian women with their savings, with their culture, just being frugal in certain ways and always having that safety net for a rainy day. So it was learning from that. And then I feel my relationship with finance was so different when I was actually struggling, when I was trying to, I was doing theater and writing and literally just anything and everything to make ends meet. And I did that for a good 8 years between, I want to say, 15 and 22, 23, until I finished law school. I was in college, but I would do a lot of theater, writing gigs on the side. I've written people's sangeet to annual day programs for schools, anything and everything that gave me some cash. Right? And it was cool at the time. I'm still talking of a day and age before social media, before content creation and this creator economy was a thing. But kahin se you wrote something for $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. I remember I would do a play where I forget now, but I think I was like getting paid $1,500 a show. And for me, I was like, oh my goodness, like 1,500 rupees. But I could see the disappointment on my mother's face saying, what is this kid on? Like, kya hoga? In hindsight, I look back at it and I understand her frustration that I was probably very detached from the economy and the reality of what it meant, right? To be able to support a bigger family and a bigger unit. But I was just happy that, no, at least that taste of getting that first
Your own
money,
earning, yeah.
right? Your own earning. And then to me starting my own law practice and my own business, that I think just completely changed my relationship with money, with finance. I feel everything that I shied away from doing in my teenage years and my early 20s, I was always bad at asking people for money. I would do something, never get paid for it. I'd have to make stories up at home because my mom's like, uska kya hua? You were too busy doing, and you're giving it your all when you're a young kid. You're spending all of this time running off on a set, and people are obviously going to take advantage of a young writer. And again, I'm saying this is at a very, very different time. In that sense, I envy Gen Z because I feel they know what they want and they don't shy away from asking for it. I was terrible. I could never say no. I had too much pride to ask for money. And I hated owing people money because, please try and understand, I came from a world where I'd inherited a lot of liability and debt. I've seen my mom deal with it. So I wanted anything but to, till date, I do not have a single loan. I've never taken it. I will not take it as too much PTSD. But I hate owing people money. But in college, when I was writing for film and TV, I remember doing the work, leaving it, turning in the scripts, never getting paid.
Ooh. And not going back and asking for it.
Not going back and asking for it. It was horrible, right? I'd be like, nee, it's okay, jaane do. But I think that also had a deep impact on my self-esteem as a professional. Because then you're also like, oh, but they didn't give it to me, maybe because the work wasn't good, maybe because I wasn't good, maybe I didn't do well, right? So I can only look back at it today and realize the impact it also had on me emotionally, mentally as a professional, right? Because you're then sort of benchmarking your own work based on somebody's ignorance and willful ignorance perhaps to not pay you. And then sometimes somebody would just take out a 500 rupee note and say, ye le. So at least it's covering my travel expense or like some meal to get, right? Because again, you didn't have Ubers, you were taking the train or walking or taking a cab to go to Film City was like not even a thought because it's going to cost you so much money to take that cab ride. So that's the world that I came from. But then when you are running your own business, it's a whole different ball game. I learned about pricing. I learned about the value of my time because I'm not selling a product, right? My time is my currency. It is a service I am rendering. I have only a finite amount of time in the day that is productive and billable. Right? I could be working for 18 hours a day. I'd be lying if I think that I'm productive for all of those 18 hours. Certainly not all of those productive hours are billable, right? So to understand what I am selling and therefore what it should be worth to make the whole operation sustainable.
Right.
So I feel I've seen that complete 180 degrees from thinking that, no, maybe I wasn't worth it and they didn't pay me, to I will sit this out if you don't think if you don't understand how to value my time. So that's been 20-something years in the making, but here we are.
No, it's I think majority of women, I feel, stay at this place where they find it hard to come to the table. I think we do suffer from this. Maybe I don't deserve it. Second guessing ourselves. And today, if you had to tell today a young girl in terms of like, how do you really come to the table because there is this struggle of saying, I won't get anything. What if I lose out this job? What if I don't,
Miss out on that opportunity,
miss out, yes.
This particular client, this mandate.
Correct. To really saying, no, I have enough confidence to say, no, this is what I deserve.
Yeah. I think the answer is two things. One is you cannot underestimate the power of you being really good at what you do. I'm saying to the point where there is no substitute, right? For example, when today somebody says that you need anything to do with this aspect of entertainment in India, she is your girl. Go to Priyanka. I know the hard work, the knowledge building, the effort it's taken to build that brand equity, right? We're so much about the froth, we're so much about the packaging, we're so much about the great marketing, the great salesmanship, that we forget that you actually gotta be good at your job, right? You gotta know it. Again, it's something that only comes with experience or with deep knowledge of your subject.
Sure. So you can't sell something at a premium which is not worth the price, right? So you have to sort
Not
of
at
build
all.
that, you have to
Yeah, and I
be
think
good.
the other thing that I would tell my younger self, because I was incredibly good at what I did because I started really early, is to have the ability to say no instead of you feeling shortchanged. See, because for people who are going to put in the hard work and who care about their product, I'm going to do it, whether you pay me 5,000 or 50,000 or 5 lakhs. The thing is, I am that sort of person and I know my name's attached to it. So it has to be of a certain quality. So if I'm going to pour my heart into it, then I have to be willing to say no when someone does not feel that it's worth that value and walk away from it. And I have to say, someone like Sushmita does it so beautifully, and I've learned that lesson from her every single time I'm in the room till date. This not shying away from saying no, because it's fine. I'll say no to 10 things, but that one thing that works will work out on my terms because they respect what I bring to the table and the price that I command. So I would tell a lot of younger women especially that don't hesitate and underestimate the power of saying no and walking away from something. It will come to you.
Yeah. I mean, and there will be tough times. There will be times when you have to choose between, oh my God, like I really need the money, but I can't be doing this, right? I can't be like not getting what I deserve.
mat karo, because then you're also going to fight again. You're negotiating against yourself.
Correct.
Because no matter what we say, it is a precedent. No matter what happens, they're going to say कि अरे पर उस time तो आपने इतना ही charge किया था, अब इतना क्यों हो गया है? It is going to happen. Look, we're also living in a country where people don't necessarily understand the value of time and personal services. It is a fact, right? When you're selling a product, it's a whole different ball game. But when your only currency is your time, you are the gatekeeper of that currency.
Right. No, absolutely true. That was very, very insightful because I think we struggle. All of us have struggled in this. We've done this journey where it's like, should I come to the table? Should I ask for it? No. But maybe this is this is an opportunity. I shouldn't let go of this. And you have to weigh both of these. But I think getting good at what you do is possibly, and which I think this really applies to the youngest of generation, where it's all about, I believe in smart work, but I also believe that it's not, an alternate to hard work. So you have to sort of have the combination of both of that.
Of course.
But coming back to women of music, and this is connected to say that, why is it that in every field, when I read about this wonderful work that you're doing, women of music, and really heartfelt, like admiration for this, because somehow I just feel that any field, it may be creative, it may be any other field, I think we need equal participation, equal representation. But why is it that in every field, that was a question I asked myself, that do we need these enablers? Like, what made you start it? And then you said this is not also like core field for you, but this was something that you obviously felt the need for.
Yeah.
And what does it do? And what made you set it up?
So I think for the longest time, like I said, a big part of my practice has been music. And I would often be the only woman in the room dealing with all the executives that are men, right? And it's unfortunate, but till date, not a single Indian record label or not a single record label in India has had a female CEO or managing director. And I think that speaks volumes about where we are culturally.
Wow, not even one till date.
Not a single one till date. And I know this because I was offered to be one by a massive label, and I actually turned it down a few years ago, saying that's not the reason that I'm going to take up this position. But that story aside.
So I used to feel it was just finance, right? Where they felt, okay, women CEOs. And now, if you tell me, even in like such a beautiful creative field like music.
It's everywhere. The other day when I saw the reconstituted this org chart for a very recent merger that's happened, right? And you take out the chairperson at the top, majority of it are older brown men. Could you not have found women good enough for those roles? Like, did you even try? Why is that entire composition there? And I don't think we stop to think about what is the cascading effect it continues to have on us as a society, because the same kind of content is going to get lit, the same kind of perspective is going to be upheld, right? And then you'll complain about, oh, why do we still have item girls? Or, why is India not got a girl band as successful as what we see in other markets? Or, why does India not see pop stars? And why do we're used to this idea of consuming a Saraswati-like image of what a female singer should be, right? But if you're constantly making the same choice, you're prioritizing just that, right? But even within the entertainment ecosystem, look at studios, especially in the music business, it's now in the last couple of years that things have started to change. I have been a massive advocate for it, I think my entire journey, and it's not been intentional, right? It started with the law firm. Yeah. And at one point we were entirely women only. Right? And then I would get all of these snide remarks on my LinkedIn DMs or on, comments saying, oh, we're told you only hire women. And I'm like, no, but none of you men want to work with a young female lawyer. That's the honest truth. Even today, if you're trying to hire laterally, they'll want to do the song and dance. But this idea of how do I work with someone who's a woman and younger than me in the profession makes most of them get cold feet. You want to come here because you think this has become the mecca of, this particular practice area, and you'll all talk about it behind closed doors. You all want to do what we're doing because you feel like, okay, there's a certain success formula to what she's been built. But the reality of it is you do not want to come work with her because you're like, how can I work for her? Right? So really? We ended up, so early days of building the firm, I could only hire women because they didn't mind my authority. And, we've also within the firm had our own merger, demerger and all of that. And that's a separate business story. But through all of it, my one big learning was older men in the profession just don't feel comfortable working with another woman. And God forbid that she's younger than them. It's a whole different story. So by default, we ended up with mostly women. Till date, I think 95% of the firm is only women, whether it's from our head of operations and chief of staff to the attorneys across different practice groups. And it's not by design. I've reached the stage where I was like, you know what, I don't care. Like, I'll own it. I just want the best person for the job. If it happens to be a woman, so be it, your loss, right? So that's on the legal side of things. And then that, I think, spilled over even into the music side. And then this was early last year, I was organically nominated by Billboard in their top women in music list globally and their top 100 music lawyers in the world. But I think literally being there at that event in LA got me thinking that I know back home there's more than one of me. Like, why are we not being celebrated? And I think that really was for me the starting point to put together Women of Music India. And I think everything that I had done over the 10 years of my career, at least in the music industry, was leading up to that moment. So it's just sometimes that one person taking that initiative and saying, you know what, let's just do this. Let's bring it all home together. I was very clear that I wanted to set it up as a non-profit because the idea is to just enable. Right? And the focus is simple. We're not a cause. I hate when people describe it as that. I'm like, we're not a cause anymore, right?
It's a good initiative. That's what they'll very subtly tell you.
Yeah, I'm very clear. I'm trying to move the needle because it's a part of our industry that needs it the most. There's a There's a lot of us in the trenches. There's a lot of incredible women out there. I'll tell you a fun fact. Some of the most celebrated talent in this country have female managers. Think about it.
Yeah. You're
Shah Rukh
right.
Khan, Diljit, Bacha used to, King does. I mean, I can go on giving you endless examples, right? The people behind the scene, the number one person behind the scene running the show is a woman.
Yeah.
Why are we not being celebrated enough? And why are we therefore not, if we are doing that anyway, why are we capable of doing what it takes? So I just felt it needed visibility, that's all. I don't think we need to induct more women into the ecosystem, certainly not in entertainment. There's enough and more of us. I think what's not happening is we've not been able to put the spotlight on them, and that's what I'm hoping to do with Wumi.
Wow, I'm so happy that you've, brought this out. Fabulous. And on that note, if you had to pass on good financial habits that you've built as family heirlooms to the next generation, what are the ones that you would list out? Like, what would be great financial habits for you to say that to live a life financially mindfully? These are the things you need
I'm
to do.
smiling because this is the question I was dreading the most. That I should be the last person.
And I've been waiting to ask this question, by the way.
Especially in front of someone like you and on this show, because I'm the last person to talk about financial
See,
literacy.
there you go again. Own your success.
No, I own my success, but I also own what I didn't know, but I have made a very active lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to financial habits, and again, just again how I was raised, right? I didn't come from an environment where something was passed down to me.
Correct.
Because it was always so hand to mouth. So a lot of it has been learnings on the go, and with a lot of life incidents that I've also had since, right? There's been different points in my life where I have managed to put aside a little safety net, but equally, and look, this is completely life circumstances, like I said, you don't have control over. And something or the other has happened where it has gone towards fixing that situation.
Right.
More often for someone else, but someone I care deeply about or love.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, I wouldn't change it for a second because I am glad that I was in a privileged position to do that.
Right.
But I feel you got to account for things like that because life is going to keep throwing these googlies at you.
Right.
And all you can do is be prepared for that. And because of, I think, just the circumstances that I came from and the various life situations that were thrown at me through my 20s, through my early 30s, I have to confess that I was a bit late in creating good financial habits. And when I say that, I mean, how now we've learned to invest systematically, to invest periodically, to not sort of, let's just do something again that's knee jerk. So in terms of financial habits, I did learn how to do your SIPs. I've learned, I'll be very honest, I am that person that thinks that knows when to acknowledge that, hey, I am not an expert at something. I don't necessarily have to become an expert at it. But if there are professionals who know what they're doing, please go out and engage them.
Correct.
And I think that's what I have done. I have a career that's extremely busy, stressful when it comes to something like stock trading, right? I'll confess I don't have the time to perhaps log in every single day and do it on my own, but can I trust a PMC to do it for me? Yes, I can.
Sure.
Can I get a wealth advisor that will help me? If I say, hey, this is a bank that's available with me, help me diversify and see what I can do with it. And I feel it's all things that I have learned by reading, educating myself, thanks to a bunch of platforms and apps that, like Lakshmi, that you've set up, talking to a lot of people, men, women, understanding, hey, what have you done? So I feel that the one big advice is that instead of overburdening yourself and feeling overwhelmed that I gotta do it, start small, but start. You'd be amazed over a period of time what that ends up looking like. It could be something as simple as just periodically putting a tiny sum away in mutual funds. Today, even my driver does it, right? And then he'll ask me, saying, I'm using this, is it okay? But I feel like that's the one thing that starts small. And the other thing is just evaluate carefully before you're throwing money on something that's optically going to make you happy, but could you instead have put it in something that's going to yield a better return in the future? So
Right.
short term versus long term, right? Like if you want to spend that crazy amount on a luxury bag versus you perhaps buying gold with that money. Like just
Correct.
take a minute, right?
Yeah.
And make that assessment.
Fabulous. I think all of these resonate. I love it when somebody says SIPs. My
Yes.
skin glows.
It's been a lifesaver for me. I am so glad I did it. And now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, at the time I didn't think it was much, but it's
Yeah.
meaningful. And what it, again, all it does is just give me peace of mind. That
Correct.
if everything else fails, if I am incapable for a period of time in my life of working because I'm self-employed, right?
Yeah.
I know that there is enough that will take care of me. And I just feel the amount of confidence, peace of mind, independence that it gives you as an individual is life-saving.
And the ability to say no to things
Yeah,
that don't
I
work for
wouldn't
you
have
because
it if
you
I
know
didn't
that
have
you
this.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I think that's really, really well said. I think so many takeaways from this. Some of them I'm also going to apply.
Thank you.
And the financial bit, I think the only input is that you really don't. Nobody needs to do stock trading, by the way. If you have to grow your money, it's only meant for
Thank you.
people who have all the time out there and want to do it for kicks.
Yeah.
It's fine, but stock trading made no one any money.
There was a point of time I would hear kids in office discuss it, and they're all because the good thing is that the younger generation is a lot savvier.
Yeah.
And I would get over and saying, wait a minute, am I not doing enough even though I was doing this? But I just feel like just trust people who know what they're doing and let them handle it for you or be guided by them.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't afford to be completely ignorant and say कि अच्छा मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है कहाँ है.
Right.
Like आपको नहीं पता होगा तो किसको पता होगा? Right?
Your money, have agency over it, know what it is doing for you. I think that bit of learning is critical, but you
Yeah.
don't, like you said, you don't have to be an expert in mutual funds to know, okay, I have to, this is why I should invest because I should know how the mutual fund is working or where it is investing. You don't need to.
It's like when my clients come to me, they don't need to know the law.
Yeah.
There's a reason that they're coming to me. Just like I don't need to know all aspects of how
Correct.
fabulous music is made.
Correct.
So just have the presence of mind to be able to turn to people who can give you advice.
Absolutely. And I think for us in the financial world, technology solved that to a very large extent. There's so much that is available, relatable.
You don't need to go anywhere. You can do it from the comfort of being just where you are.
Totally.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So, someone as dynamic as you, who's constantly evolving, I'm so curious to know what's next on the cards, what's coming.
The global domination is what's next.
Wow. That sounds super.
Yes, I'm very, very clear what 2025 and the next few years of my career are going to be. I think this year was consciously laying the blocks for the next few years, especially because we turned a decade old, right? It's 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel we've been there, done that. We've set the gold standard for what entertainment law is supposed to look like in this country. And I'm quite proud of that, but I equally feel that it's time to take it up a notch. So that's the one big thing that I've got my eyes set on. And I think the guiding motto for me personally for 2025 and the next few years with how I spend my time, because like I said, I'm conscious that it's my only currency, is what's urgent is not important. What's important is never urgent. So I want to focus on the latter and just do things that I truly believe are important.
How exciting. Just listening to you, I'm like, wow. And I love the fact that you don't say global foray, you actually say global domination. That's the way to say it.
Karna hai to bada hi karna hai. Just don't do it.
With the confidence ki, hum jayenge nahi, hum dominate karenge. We will not just, we'll kill it there. So fabulous, so excited and really looking forward to seeing all of these things pan out.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be cheering for you. I'll be cheering for you. Lakshmi will be cheering for you.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a joy. I was very, very nervous that am I going to be the right candidate, but you've just made it feel so breezy and nice to talk to you about finance. And it's the first time that I've ever had a conversation like this with someone. So thank you.
No, it was a pleasure. I think I learned so much, and it just makes, I think personally makes me so happy to see somebody like you, a woman like you who has gone through life's journey, has the confidence to be able to share successes, failures, to-do lists, and have that have that clarity of thought that, this is where I'm going next and this is what I'm doing next. I think it's amazing. You've made my day. Thank you for being here. We'll move on to the next segment. So normally on the Rich Recipe podcast, we have a guest that we call in. Always a young girl who will, learn a lot from your journey, because we realize, we feel that young women today don't have a safe space where they can come ask questions that they'd like to ask. Right. And I think it's a little bit, we feel that that makes this podcast relatable to our audience. Because, most of us on this show have done this life journey, but there are millions of young girls out there just starting up. So we'd love to invite one such guest on our show. Joining us today is Vaishnavi, a wealth management executive just starting out on her career's journey. She's here with some great questions about navigating work, life, and money questions I know so many of you will relate to. Let's bring her in and see how we can help her with the right answers.
So Preeti, my first question is to you. What is that one money trap that young professionals fall into, and how can I avoid that?
So I think firstly, you are already a finance professional, so I'm sure you've got it right. But I think the one thing that I will tell every young person out there is, put aside money for yourself, your future first, before you go out and prove to the world that now you've started earning and you're out there, etc. So we always tell people that create two things you need to start working towards. One is your emergency fund. Create it first, because God forbid if something happens, that at least 6-8 months, a year of living expenses are taken care of. I think Priyanka mentioned that while she was giving her financial habits as well, that create that and simultaneously start creating your retirement fund. It might sound very boring to you at this age where you're like, retirement, oh my God, that's like really far off. But the earlier you start, the richer you will retire. And actually for your generation, I don't even call it retirement fund. I actually call it financial freedom fund. So that you have enough money that you no longer need to work for money. That's what you should aim to do, and you can start small as soon as you start earning when you're young, so that you grow a reasonable and amazing corpus as you get to the age of 40, 45.
Right. That was insightful. So Priyanka, my next question is to you. So what's a stereotype about women that you have encountered at work that you think we should stop believing in 2024?
Oh, that we're damsel in distress. We're not. We're anything but that today. We don't need rescuing. You don't have to play the role of my protector provider. Like, we've moved on from that. So I really wish more and more people, men and women, and understand that, acknowledge that, and make their peace with it. Women need to stop believing it as well. So that's the one stereotype I would stay away from.
Correct. That's it for my questions.
Fabulous. And so happy to have you, ask these questions, because I think sometimes there was a lot of, internally I was also sort of thinking to myself, going back in time and saying, oh, I wasn't like her. Like, I mean, look at her. She's got...
I love that. Yeah. I love that energy. I love how clear they are about, okay, isko aise karna hai. That's fab.
Yeah. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for calling me.
Thank you. And once again, thank you, Priyanka. This has been hugely inspiring and exciting for me.
Thank you.
I think more power to you. May we have more and more Priyankas around to show us the way, to be the shining star that many women look up to.
Thank you. That means
and
lot
why
to
just
me.
Women, men. Yeah,
yes.
Look up to and say, if you've set your eye on that goal, you're going to get
You got to do it.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. And that's a wrap on today's episode with the amazing Priyanka Khimani. From navigating the legal world of glitz and glam to sharing some seriously empowering advice, she's reminded us that owning our narrative, financially and otherwise, is the ultimate power move. Until next time, keep chasing these rich recipes for life.